Hello, 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 my dear friends.
Oh,
Welcome to the Inspired Risk podcast, conversations with cool people living radically free lives. I am your host, Elizabeth Cordova, and I am absolutely delighted to be here with my precious friend, Erin Rogers. Erin is an intuitive coach and I don't know, just like all around witchy, brilliant person. And today we're going to talk about what it looks like to lead a life guided by intuition, a life guided by intuition rather than fear. So I hope you're excited. Erin, hi, how are you?
hello. Thank you for having me. I actually was like, "Oh crap, I can't wait to listen to the other podcasts if that's how you're introing this." I'm like, "I love those people. Those are my people." So,
Yeah, those are the
how
people.
exciting that those are the conversations that are inspiring you. I mean, it feels
Mm,
very in alignment with your energy and spirit, but I was like, "This is gonna be great."
this is going to be great. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Um, how did you first connect to your intuition?
Mhm. Yeah, the shorter version is for a long time in my life, I could use words like, deja vu in my family. You could use certain words about like I had a feeling but it was always I can't I believe you were, but I was raised in a religious household, nothing crazy, but just there were words you could use around intuition, there were words you couldn't. And
Mm,
um but around 27, 28, I found therapy. And therapy led then to all of this kind of like trusting myself enough to say, get a card reading. And it took, for the person listening, it took 10 years. I'm also a little,
hmm
and, and things would happen. Like I would predict pregnancies. I would call people and be like, "Hey, are you pregnant?" And they were like, "No." They call me back later that day. They're like, "I took a test. Yes, I am." I'm like, "Oh, weird that I would know that." Like I would have really deeply intuitive experiences, but the real big moment for me was I got really sick and randomly my old medical doctor, an MD, left that practice and became a spiritual coach, which is I don't know how often that's happening, maybe more so now. At the time I think it was less common, and I went to her cuz I said, "I know this is physical, but I know there's something else happening here. I just don't know why." And I sat in a chair and she kind of opened up the session. It was just an intro session. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. My whole body became like a yellow light. And it was like in that moment, everything went from like, I'm kind of weird or different, or I never quite get why people are acting, to like, your spirit guides are talking to you. That's not an inner voice. Inner voice doesn't sound that way. You have this intuition. And it was like she gave me all this context to my inner experiences that I thought was normal. And the way I described that day was I had spent my lifetime being a fish trying to fly, and someone put me back in water, and I finally thrived.
Wow, what a beautiful metaphor. Because I think one of the things that is so prominent, has been so prominent in my life, and for a lot of the listeners that I know are going to tune in, I so often identified as like a weirdo, a freak, an outcast, a person who did not fit into their environment. And I think about that Einstein quote all the time, like, if you try to make a fish climb a tree, it's gonna feel like an idiot. Forgive
Yeah, I didn't know
my
that. I love
like
that, though. I didn't know that quote. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bastardization of that quote. Um, but it's exactly what you described. Like, being a fish on land can be so uncomfortable. And so to be put back into an environment where you can actually like be yourself and thrive really is the beginning, I think, for so many people of connecting to their intuition and feeling like, okay, actually, I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
cool. I'm fine. Um, and
and
so then what?
I was a try hard. Like, I was trying
Yes.
to be as normal as possible, and it was killing me, and I was like, "But I will try." I would have looked normal to people.
Hmm.
I was not
Yeah.
normal.
I think same. I think I always looked really emotionally dramatic. Like I am a Cancer moon, so that's always going to be a part of my brand is
Sag
just like
Sag
a bit.
rising?
And Sag rising,
Yeah,
yes.
a little
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
A little excited, a little emotional.
Yeah.
Um and I always had these like deep feelings and felt so misunderstood, but would try to project like normalcy and quote unquote like sanity so that I would be accepted. And So I really resonate with what you're talking about and think that a lot of people probably will too. Um, I'm curious, like what happened after. So you had this session with this doctor. You
Yeah,
felt maybe a bit of wholeness, perhaps. And
totally.
what happens next?
Yeah. I'm a channel, so the one thing I really notice overall when I really connect deeply, I have to, like, sit on grass. Like, so that day I had to sit on grass for an hour before I got in my car, and at the time I didn't know, but I get really high and connected in a good way, on my own supply. There's nothing like it's literally just that connection of just, like, pure bliss. But the fallout, and almost what make me emotional this moment, was now I was living in a life that was built by a version of me that isn't authentic. So
Yeah.
I will say one of the challenges was the awakening, but woke me up to a life that now felt literally physically uncomfortable, but you cannot
Mm.
change. Maybe you could, but I was not willing to change everything overnight. I did change pretty drastically in the next 9 months, but I will say um, the benefit of living authentically is your surroundings will reflect you and who you really are. And the inauthenticity for me meant I built a life that looked really great, and I was like, don't want any of this. This is not truly what I want. So that was challenging. But I had great friends that I came out to with this whole thing, and they were very accepting. I had a moment when I was in a car with a friend a few months later, and she was asking questions, and I was channeling, but she's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, the ticker tape in your mind that gives you all the answers." And she goes, "No, babe. No, I don't have a ticker." And it was like, "Oh, not everyone's channeling." And unbeknownst to me, we like happened to go to a lake, and so I channeled for 3 hours. Don't do that. That's very physically exhausting. But at the time, I was so excited. So I do also find the new awakening, and I'm watching that now with people that I'm mentoring. Again, is like you get so excited and you just want to do everything all the time. Eventually, then it's been 8 years or 9 years or something. I've seen cycles of how it rolls out, but I was so excited, and I was doing all the things that you weren't supposed to do. Where people would be like, "You want to know? You want to know?" I was like, "Huh?" And it was this exciting thing, but I really had to hone my gift, and I kept working with her. Um, but 6 months later, because I was still mentally committed to the life of like what looked good,
Mm.
but physically it was starting to really become a problem. I went to a spiritual retreat in Sedona and kind of like, well, in 5 years, I'll express this gift or like do something with it more so than just live it for myself. And the whole weekend, the spiritual weekend had been like, no, you've got to go and do something with this gift. You can't keep down on this life. And I tend to be a little stubborn. As I left, I was in a car and I had already been like, I shouldn't leave, something's wrong. But I hadn't quite learned to really trust my gift no matter what. My car got hit by lightning, and it did go through my body, but in a very insignificant way. Like my eardrum felt like it was popped, my ankle felt like it was rolled. But like it's not like someone getting directly hit where it's probably causes
Mhm.
death. So,
Mhm.
and I was like, and I could, and I generally am very audible, and Spirit was like, "Gonna listen now?" I was like, "Okay." We get to the we get to the airport. All flights are grounded for the day because of the lightning storm. And if I had just listened to Spirit, which said stay in Sedona and fly out tomorrow, it would have been right. So since then, I have a much that created a very strong belief that if I have something that feels that strong in my body, I listen no matter how
Mm.
uncomfortable. And so within 3 months of that, I quit my big six-figure leadership job and gave up my apartment. And I always wanted to do a road trip from Vancouver through the like western states of the US. And I went back to Sedona because I was like, there's got to be something here for me that I need to listen to. And I arrived in
Mhm.
Sedona 2 weeks before the pandemic started.
Whoa.
And Spirit had always told me the timing was important. And I kept being like, it's any time. Like I was like, it's any time. And we're just on a journey. And they're like, no, you have to go now. If you don't go now, we don't think you're ever going to go. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then once COVID hit, I was like, oh, I wouldn't have left that job because this uncertainty externally would have been probably too fear inducing to me. So it
Yeah.
was one time when I was like, timing was important. I had to go.
Mm. Mm. I have so many thoughts just like racing
Sure,
in my
yeah.
mind right now. So let me just take a second because I think actually what would be beneficial is to explain what you mean actually when you talk about your gift and when you talk about channeling and when
Mm.
you talk about like, okay, I sat at the lake and I channeled for 3 hours. Like, what does that actually mean for folks?
Yeah, great question. This is just how I experience different levels of energy, and this doesn't mean it's the same for anyone else, or maybe it gives you permission to consider your gifts. Just in terms of, I really experience things in energetic levels. The example being, I'm in a mediumship course right now. I've done mediumship. Mediumship is when you talk to somebody who was once living on Earth and they've crossed over. To me, that is one dimension away. I would say for me, that feels like a fourth dimension. These are just self and created. What that means is that person will always speak to me generally over my right shoulder, and it feels very physically close to me. Intuition feels like I have a bubble around my body, and my bubble is interacting with all of the world around me, and I get sensory into the bubble. And while they can somewhat be the same, they feel separate to me. Channeling feels like something that is significantly higher above myself. Um, and when I say higher, it's like visually in my mind's eye, it's like beyond Earth, if that was a way that we were measuring it, or like 12 dimensions up. Like that's just where it feels. And to me, channeling is a translation of a vibration. That's why everyone can do it. But just some will be more talented than others. So the way I experience channeling is that information is coming to me in an energy, and then I'm putting words to that energy, meaning I've channeled aliens. I've channeled the color orange, very intense, by the way. I've channeled the planet Mars. I've channeled all this type of things, and it's been very interesting. And I kind of had to ask one day, like, well, how shouldn't I just have like one source? Kind of like how you see like a Bashar on TV or something, And they're like,
Mhm.
it's just a translation of a vibration, and it happens to be one of your more natural talents. Versus mediumship, I really have to work at. That feels more challenging, unless because my soul's purpose is to tell you your greatest purpose and all the things that maybe stand between them in a loving way, so that you can shift blocks, beliefs, or experiences to step deeper into your expression. So if your grandma isn't the most important person in that message, I can't hear her as clearly as like the other day someone's aliens came in. I was like, hey guys, what up? Let's talk about that. So this gift, the way that I experience it is it's the way I experience it. It doesn't mean it's not anyone else's experience isn't right or wrong. But that's how I'm sort of moving through my experiences when I'm feeling intuitive or connected.
Okay. And I love that you grounded it in sort of like your soul's purpose, because I think that was part of where my curiosity was coming in. I'm like, okay, but what is the connecting force here? What is the like through line? Because what I could also imagine is just like a friend coming to you and being like, okay, can you channel like lottery numbers? Can you channel
Totally.
like, the person that I'm gonna marry? I could see how this could easily become sort of like outsourcing someone's power or someone's destiny or someone's um I don't know, fate into like your hands and it becoming a very like twisted and warped thing.
And
So,
and I have
do
an
you want to speak to
experience.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I kind of made some of those mistakes. I didn't give anyone lottery numbers. Um, But I will explain the way I see it and then what I learned from it. So you know human design. If the
Mm,
people listening know human design, I'm a 3/5. A 5 has a strong projection field, which can cause a lot of like people perceive you in certain ways. And so this projection field with a channeling ability causes really interesting interactions with people. And so what I learned was free will is so strong that, well, in this moment, when I would say read for someone as a future prediction, which I won't do anymore, so don't ask, all I was doing was tuning into a timeline that I could
yes.
resonate with and see for
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And because I have my gift, I feel less attached when I receive that type of information.
Mhm.
And this person, for better or worse, perhaps that was a lesson to learn in trusting themselves. And I was, I just didn't know better at the time. But I gave them a full pipeline of like 5 years. And to be
Mm.
honest, 80% of it came true. But shortly after I go, gross, because I have 5 planets in Sagittarius. Sorry if I'm using way too many terms in astrology, human design, but I'm like, why would I ever want to limit your full potential by giving you the timeline
Mm.
today? Because timelines shift based on the actions you take, is my belief. So
Yeah,
even though in
same.
that moment, perhaps I was quote unquote correct, it literally could have changed the next moment. That's what I
Yeah.
believe. So I
Yeah.
I'm most certain that you probably have moments or things that you're meant to experience in your life, but how you get there, how you arrive, if you never do it, no problem. I believe in multiple lives, so you probably just come back next life. So for me as a reader to give you a predictive reading that limits your mental possibilities or your energetic possibilities that sit within your like this bubble, that terrible. Oh my God, that's my
Yeah.
nightmare. I never want to do that. And so instead, I realized the gift was more like maybe in my mind's eye, I might see some things, but it's more about, oh, that's cool if they could experience that. What might be in their energetic sphere of beliefs or experiences that would keep them from that? That looks really
Mm,
cool. Do we
mhm.
want to explore that? So I I don't think predictive readings are great. I think there's like an element that can be fun in a card reading, but it has to be a really responsible space holder. And yeah, because I did have challenges with relationships after I discovered my gift because I
Mm.
love being helpful. I was like, of course I want to tell you.
Mhm,
That's gonna
mhm.
help you. And then
Yes.
I really had
Yes,
to
yes,
learn
yes.
in relationship wasn't to be useful. I could just be your friend. And that was a really hard
Mm,
lesson for me to learn in terms of like transforming love and how I experienced a love in any relationship. And the gift made it complicated for sure. It took me a long time to figure that out.
mm. Yeah, I resonate with so much of what you're saying. Number one, because I also believe in infinite possibilities and letting people make choices. And whenever I go into um, a space as a reader for someone, I'm like, you are the one who is defining the vision that you want for your life. And just what you said, I'm here to help identify sort of like what are the blocks, opportunities, challenges in your personality, habits, behaviors that might be like getting in the way of experiencing that. And so
'Cause
it's
you're also a
not,
3-5?
I am a 1-3,
1-3.
3-1, I think. I'm like my human design
You're a
language is
1-3.
like
You can't be a
pretty
3-1.
low.
You're a 1-3. Got
Okay,
it.
I'm a
Yeah, yeah.
1-3.
Yeah, yeah. All that research. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Yes, yes. Big
Um,
research, big experimentation is, I think,
yeah,
my understanding of it.
yeah, 100%.
Um, and the other thing that you said was learning how much to share and when to share and what to share. I'm like, also as Virgo, superpowers discernment. I can see 20 steps ahead.
Yeah,
And so often it's not for me to say. Just like
yeah,
keep your mouth shut because you're not supportive, maybe if you're not being invited to share, if you're not being like, if there's not a container for
yeah,
this transmission to be expressed. And so thank you for just like keeping it real of like, yeah, I wanted to be needed. And so I was
yeah.
just telling people things that um felt good for me, but maybe were not like in their best interest to receive.
Yeah, and I had to end some friendships because some friendships ended up getting birthed
Mm,
basically on me giving readings, me not knowing, right? Like, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna pull
sure.
fun cards," but when you're n maybe naturally talented, you're like, "I'm gonna tell you all this stuff," and it would be like, "Oh," it took me a while to be like, "Oh, I actually can't do that. That's, like, me working. I'm burnt out, and
Hmm.
I don't think it's helping you because you're outsourcing your power to me, which gross, I don't want that for you."
Yeah.
And then but it's addictive for people. I get it. It's addictive for me. And so I
Yes.
also had to end some relationships just to be like, this is built on some unhealthy habits and it doesn't seem like we can transform them to better ones. Um, I can't go on. I can't be doing a full session for you all the time. So, um,
Mm,
and it's just like, and it's okay that you made that mistake, Erin, and it's okay that you figured it
sure.
out. And,
Yes.
you know, it's like all those things like, oh, maybe it's sad that that friendship ended. But I think in all of this, the fact that we're talking about taking risk is a lot of those types of things will come up because you're also transforming in all these moments of change. So you don't
Yes.
always know exactly who you are, how you want to connect, and maybe you do. But I found I had to like learn a new version of me in each transformation, which meant sometimes I maybe didn't do it the way I would ideally do it. I just did what was available to me in the moment.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, it's nuts. Taking risks you don't know. You literally don't know, and that's the whole point. And
Yeah,
I also love this reflection that you have for yourself of like, it's okay to get
it's
it
okay.
quote unquote like wrong. That how
Yeah,
else is there to learn except to try and to like maybe if we're applying a label like fail and then try again. and
Yeah.
do it differently,
Love
do it
that
quote
3
unquote
line.
better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
of course, I'd be lovely I wanna be loving and perfectly boundaried, but listen, I only found my boundaries 'cause I didn't use them. That's how I found them. So, it's the hard part about
1000%.
the growth.
Okay, so you mentioned, like, when you are doing, mediumship, maybe that you can hear
Mhm. I can
somebody
hear
try
all the time, but
you can
yes,
hear
I
all the
can.
time.
Mhm.
Okay, so do you wanna explain some of the different clairs that you work
Yeah,
with? Okay.
totally. So there's 4 predominant ones and a 5th fun one that I like to mention. This
Mm,
is just random. I do have a quiz on how to find your intuitive type, but listen, if you're listening to this, you probably already know. I just did it because I felt like everyone that comes to me has a little bit of a mental bend, so I was like, "Cool, you overthinkers, go verify what you already know." But so there is claircognizance, which is intuitive thinking, so beyond the mental mind, the intuitive mind, and we can talk more about that. There's
mm,
clairvoyant, which is clear seeing or intuitive seeing, clairaudient, which is intuitive hearing, and then clairsentient is intuitive feeling, claircognizant is intuitive thinking, clairvoyant is intuitive seeing, and I'm missing one. Sensing, seeing, hearing, feeling. Clairaudient, sorry, that's what I don't know why I'm having a hard time. There's a
it's okay.
clairgustant, which I think is really interesting, and I think
Say it again, Clairgustance?
clairgustant, they're all French
Okay, yeah. I'm like,
origin.
it's like the guy in
Guston,
Beauty and the
yeah.
Beast, yes.
Um, that one is like a tasting or a smelling, and so I do find
Mm,
highly intuitive people, it'll be, I'm tempted to go deep into it, but what I'll just say is, like, if you notice you have a certain taste or, like, people that can smell their grandma's perfume after she's passed, and there's certainly no like, that kind of intuitive experience where you're smelling, or
mhm,
really intuitive people in a conversation will be able to read the other person because they get certain smells or tastes in their mouth and scents, which I think is really cool. I actually don't have that one. I find people that can deconstruct like, a meal at a
mm,
restaurant,
mhm.
I feel like they have that as, like, a real, like, practical application of it. 'Cause I was like, "I don't know what's in this, I can't taste it." Um,
Like, my husband is a chef, I'm gonna start poking and prod him for a see if I
totally,
can
because a
develop
lot of
his
us go towards our natural
Clairgustance.
talents without knowing,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
every massage therapist I know is intuitive because 'cause you're touching bodies all day, like, you're literally interacting with
Mm,
people's fields, like, that kind of thing. I'm like, your talents already have taken you where you are. My job, I've also been a corporate recruiter for 20 years, and people used to say,
mhm,
like, "Well, how do you know someone's good?" I would go, "Oh, what they do and don't say." I'm highly clairaudient. I'm literally using my intuition and then trying to apply logic in afterwards. So I'm sorry I've said so much to people, but so Claire knowing is like it's a thought that drops in that you can't explain why, but you're very sure it's true. I think that's a really great simple way. Claire audience can be this hearing a song that has meaning to you, and then and they all have sort of laddered up experiences from like real sort of entry level to obviously more extreme. So I would say like this hearing music is like a really cool one to start with. I can audibly hear voices that will come up and speak to me, that wake me up in the middle of the night, anywhere from ghosts to spirit to all those pieces. Clairvoyance is to see beyond the scene. So think about people that can see a whiteboard and then actually can see it fully filled out with something. That's clairvoyance. You're seeing something that isn't there. Someone, an interior designer that can see an empty room and fill it. An artist, I don't know if you know any of those, Elizabeth, but like a blank piece of paper and you visually see the constructs of what you're going to start to create. That's a version of clairvoyance expressing, and there's more and more intense experiences. Clairsentience is probably the one people know the most often, which is intuitive feeling. And the very simple one is cut the room's tension with a knife. Like that's everyone feeling the energy. We actually have like social things we say that are very commonly accepted that are expressions of clairsentient that we aren't really giving full validation that it's an intuitive experience. It's not a mental one.
mm. It's so cool. I wanna just, like, bounce back because earlier you were saying you have to really develop your mediumship.
Mhm.
It doesn't come necessarily as fluidly, maybe as some of your other gifts. And
Mhm.
so I think for the listeners, it would be so supportive to understand like how, how do
Yeah.
you develop these? How do you build
Yeah.
this musculature? Like what does that tactically look like?
Yeah. Um, and on a simple level, like I grew up playing sports. You could be naturally talented at basketball, but if you weren't out there every day practicing, the natural talent still needs to be practiced as an example. And the same thing applies to all of these skills. Um, for me, when I quote unquote, maybe we'll use the word came online, when I actually acknowledged the gifts I was already experiencing, channeling, though there was no effort. I still needed to do it every day. It became stronger and better when I would meditate, when I'm in session, all those things. But it was a natural talent that I just had to be in motion with. Versus mediumship, before I took this class, would come up sometimes in readings, sometimes in real world scenarios. Like I had someone that was working on my team and we were in a one-on-one. And I think this is vague enough, but basically her and her partner had split and he was not a very nice person, but she didn't fully know that yet. And unfortunately, someone in her family, extended family sort of connections had passed away. And we're in a one-on-one and this person shows up in this just work setting and goes and starts yelling, F that guy over and over and over again. And I'm sitting in and I go, excuse me, can I ask you a question? And they had kind of known I was dabbling, but like because that was a really important message for her to receive. So because of my soul's intention, that came through clearly. But so when I decided to take on mediumship, I have a very talented friend, and it's been cool to learn things like just sitting and waiting a little bit longer for, in her case, she really likes us to get evidence. Evidence means validating points of information from the person on the other side to show that you're truly connecting with them. And because I'm more message oriented, I normally just be like, hey, this is what they want to let you know. My friend's like, but how do they know that's the real person? I go, I don't know. I don't care. Like in terms of my actual being, I'm like, the message is more important to me, but this is great for me to stretch and practice getting validation. Because even in psychic readings, that's helpful for me to validate that the spirit coming through or even the alien knows something about you that my humanness wouldn't, to help you really resonate. So I think that's like a cool thing. And I probably need to take more courses. And there's really cool, there's anywhere from like, I'm sure you have things, I've offered courses to like, there's like a Hogwarts like school in England that just does the metaphysical schools. I can't remember the name of it. So there's lots of places to go and actually learn. Ethically, I just be very, very, very sure of who you're working with ethically.
Mm.
'Cause I think there's some
Mhm.
people that sometimes uh, I don't know if people ever mean to do harm or not, but you just got to really make sure that you're learning from the right people that are in alignment with your values, whether it's being trauma informed, you feel like they're deeply ethical. Um, yeah, all those pieces. But to learn from others has been really helpful. Spirit had told me not to do that for a long time, more learn from books. And so it's been cool to be in a class and be held. And learn from her versus like breath work. Of course, that's how we first were connected, is like in that medium. And I've taken lots of healing courses and learned from other people. But yeah, so that's mediumship, just like breath work or energy healing. For me, I needed to practice a bit more to have more context and strengthen sort of how I was facilitating the experience to get information as well as to share for other people. Is that clear the way I've explained that?
It's clear to me. I think one of the takeaways is practice with
Mhm.
yourself as much as you can. I think another takeaway is find a teacher that is aligned with your values and do some research on sort of like what lineage maybe they are drawing from. Be intentional about who it is that you learn from, but if the opportunity comes along and it feels aligned to like take a class, then that is a great route to go. Would that be
Yeah.
a
Totally, because
good summary?
ultimately, I think it's all inside of us, but just like anything, we need support to extract it and practice it and strengthen it. So,
Mhm.
find the right people that are gonna support you in that like expansion of your skill set.
Yeah. One thing that you said was your soul's intention. Because something was aligned with your soul's intention that this specific message was coming through.
Yeah,
And I'm curious if you think that we are born with the soul intention that is like predefined, or if we sort of like co-create maybe our soul's intention as we go through life.
sure. A few things. There's this really great book called The Instruction. I think his name is Ainsley McLeod. He was on Oprah. You'll find him easily if someone's interested.
Okay.
And he has the 10 levels of soul, which I thought were really interesting to just give some context around. And I reference that because I think it depends on your soul. So some souls, because
Mm.
my belief as a baseline is our souls come out here on earth to experience contrast to grow. And without contrast, the soul can't grow. And there's lots of nuance. We won't go into it, but just at a very basic level. And so sometimes for a lot of the first times you're here on earth as a soul, I think it's just to experience. And maybe you have a contract with an interaction with a person, but like maybe that was for 30 seconds of your whole life. Like we don't know exactly how many of those powerful moments. And then at some point, I do think perhaps as souls have matured, they maybe have more specific missions. And so for me, it feels like that's what my soul's here to, has asked me to come here to do specifically. And some people's souls are literally here to have like the best time and spread joy. So like it can be really serious or not at all. Like it does, and it doesn't have any different value. It's
Mm.
just like there's also Dolores Cannon who talks about souls and the three waves, which is going to be really interesting for people if they feel like they're an indigo child or they identify as kind of a soul that has something they feel like they have a purpose around through intuition. What do you believe actually?
Well, I asked this question because I'm like, I actually don't know. I've never really thought about it actually.
Yeah.
Like what is my soul's intention? I think for me, I always say that my desires are a gift from God and
Mhm.
that I am here to just like follow the breadcrumbs of
Yep.
desire to develop my life and then to be a guide and a witness and a support for people who are also curious about how to follow their own desires and carve out a path for themselves that is antithetical to like the predefined corporate
Yeah.
patriarchal capitalist like bullshit that we've been spoon fed.
Hmm.
And so I think I have a clear idea of maybe what my soul's intention is, but I don't necessarily have any concept of like how did that arrive? Did
Yeah.
I
How did that
and I
arrive?
don't know
I
that it's like necessary to know that, but
Yeah.
I just it's
I just know that every time, so like I do contract work. I think this is really helpful for people to know. I do contract work in the corporate world to support this business. And that's like ebb and flowed. And I didn't do that for 4 years. And that's totally cool. All I know is that if I ever took a full-time job, my soul would feel like it's dying. I do know that because
Mhm.
my soul's purpose might get drowned out by too much distraction. So like that's the
Yeah.
way I experience it. I also, and again, please take this or leave it. It sounds a little bit egotistical when I say it, but the way I experience it is that I feel like there's also levels. I believe this. I feel like this is a grade 1 to grade 3. That's a very Canadian way. What do you guys call grade 1 to grade 3 in America? When
Grade
you're
1
like,
to grade 3.
okay,
Yeah.
you call it that. Some people have a different inverse. Anyways, I think Earth is like grade 1 to grade 3. I think it's like early days. We're actually just early days. There's like a whole bunch of other schooling that we'll experience in a soul level. And I always joke that I was at like a cosmic barbecue being like, shit, it's not going great down there. We really should help them out. And I had too many
Mm.
tequila shots and I ended up in a womb. That's how I literally channeled it one day. And I was like, what am I doing back here? I thought I was done. And so maybe that, I don't know, that vision, that belief, that funny story that came to me reinforces that like my soul is here for a purpose versus some people are just
Mm.
here to experience it and maybe again have
Yeah.
that 30-second interaction. So that is partly what drives my perception of how I'm experiencing this lifetime.
Okay. Amazing. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
is there any channeling that you feel
Oh,
called to do for the audience, for
yeah.
listeners? Like, do you want to give,
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
know,
tune
some
in
kind
a
of
little bit.
experience?
Great. You know why this is so great? Because speaking of spirit and being told, for a girl that channels, I really resist channeling, mostly because it doesn't look very cool.
Okay.
Um, and it's actually quite, it's just a little bit, it's vulnerable, which is totally amazing. I'm working on
Fair.
vulnerability. So it's not that vulnerability is bad, is that I'm working on it. So when I
Okay.
pulled a card, which is so great, because it's partly what was coming through, birthing a new age, birthing new creations, and dreaming a new world into being. So if
Mm.
you're watching this, hilarious. Um, but yeah, let's just tune in for a second.
Okay.
So funny. So I'll just there's different types of channeling. I'll sort of talk as I go, but it's saying, hmm. the souls of the world are ready for a new translation, a new vibration, a new through line of transformation. What looks like painful change is actually the moment of birth, the opening, the cracking, the discomfort. It is the idea of the seed breaking through the soil. For what feels like the darkest, most painful moment is the moment the seedling finds the sun. Live as though your soul is finding the sun and you are moving, dreaming, growing through the discomfort of pushing through the soil. Do not discount the world around you, but know that truly, as the challenging times arise, it means the light has become so much stronger. So the same is true in you. You are a reflection of the soul, the earth, the sun, the moon, the universe. And because you are becoming stronger, the light in you is growing. The darkness has more things to say. So trust your path and where you are going. Allow your body, being, and soul to push through. And in this time of transformation, begin to know you. Know you at a deeper, intuitive, authentic level. For your inner truth is what will guide you through trying times and expansive times. Great news. That was great. Thanks, Spirit.
That was great. Thank you, Spirit. I'm like, I want to do a little snaps, a little clap, a little just like thank you for
Stand up.
that beautiful transmission, because I think it is exactly what the sole intention of this podcast is all about. And so it just feels like the people who are going to be the receivers of that transmission, it's going to be so nourishing. I know it was nourishing for me in this moment, and so I know it's going to be nourishing for them. So
Love.
thank you for sharing your gift, Erin.
Gorgina, appreciate it. Appreciate the space for it all.
Mm. So if people want more of that, what is this new container? I saw you post something
Ah,
on Instagram, but I
yeah.
genuinely do not know. So tell
No,
me.
thank you. Um, Something I've noticed for sure, and I've had a very quiet winter, which
Mm,
has been somewhat purposeful, somewhat forced, but partly for the last 6 years, I have lived in the rhythms of the astrological year, which has really proven supportive for me. And the deeper I go into them, the more I notice those alignments. And so, something that's really cool is that one, we have a transformation cycle every 4 weeks. And there's a transformation cycle that has a theme to it. And so for me, I was like, it's time to let me share this container externally. So there'll be seasonally you would join for 3 months, and we'd go through 3 months of a transformation through your own inner world, through your intuition. But in the themes of like areas will be like starting, igniting, action. Taurus season obviously has more of that grounded, supportive, like almost like luxuriating in your talent. Gemini is going to have you talking, expressing, and we'll go through the transformation of the block, belief, or shadow that sits there, the moving it through, the expressing. So the actual month pattern will look the same, but the theme changes based on what astrological month we're sitting in. And so there'll be breath work, channeling. It's sort of like a group coaching container that I feel like will be really supportive for people. And I'm very excited. I have workbooks, and it's like I find when we invite people to live seasonally in alignment, it's another way to invite your intuition online even more deeply, because you're probably already feeling the seasons and the moons, and you don't have to live or
yes.
die by them. But if you were to move in rhythm with them, it's another way to invite you more deeply into your own body, being and intuition. And I think in a time of AI, in a world that feels like it's maybe crumbling, your greatest strength is your inner truth, which is what you access through your intuition.
Mm. I love it. I also really plan my life around the astrological seasons. I'm like
Mm,
very dedicated to understanding and using it as
yeah,
context, right? To like help understand what cosmic supports are available to me right now,
yeah,
during a specific season, and maybe like what things can I put to the side for this season because not everything needs to happen all at once. And so, can I
No.
be really intentional
Yeah.
about the actions that I'm taking and the mm, just like experience that I'm expecting to
Yeah.
have during a certain period of time?
Totally. I think you're very good at it. I think you're very good at it from the external watching view. But it's like,
Mm,
yeah, like a tree isn't trying to grow a flower in December, generally
yeah,
speaking. You know, it's like that
yeah,
we are a tree and we just get to be in relationship with those seasons. And it's better to try to grow your flower in May or June. So why
yeah.
don't you let
When the
yourself
sun is out.
blossom when it's the preferable time for you as a being? And like, it's really hard probably to launch a program in January. 'Cause
Mm,
damn, we're only like 10 days into winter in Canada or in the Northern Hemisphere. It
mhm.
probably isn't a time to shove things out in the world. It's probably times to, like, reflect, review, let the like, that your own soil strengthen in that time so that when March 21st comes, you can be like the seed pushing through the dirt. So that's sort of how it came to be, how I've been living. I'm excited to share it, and Spirit also told me. And the upstairs told me I had to do it. So, that is my core focus at the moment is gonna be, those and in-person breathwork in Vancouver.
Amazing.
Mm,
Amazing. Okay, Erin. Well, thank you so much for coming
sure.
on to chat with me today. This is hopefully the first of many conversations. I can already imagine listeners being like, more Erin. We want more of that, more channeling, more
That's kind.
breaking down the Clairs, more. I mean, there's so much that we didn't even get to. I want to talk at some point about your watercolor aura paintings because that's
Oh,
something
yeah.
that stuck with me. And I'm like so key for my people here to just remember like art is also such an intuitive and creative practice, and so we'll have a future conversation about that.
Thank
If
you
you
so
want
much
to
for bringing me
hear,
on. Yeah.
yeah, any reflections before we go from you?
I wanna say that as someone who's been able to watch you, so Elizabeth and I met at a breathwork training, which was cool because she was actually online at the first one, and we were like, "Who's this online mystery person?" And then we got to meet in
Mm,
person, I think a year later. But I'd been I would say one of my skill sets is being observant. I think you've been really brave, and you were like, screw it, I'm going all in, and like you're so talented in artistry and the things I've experienced, and I'm sure there's other things, but like your card readings, the way you invite people in. So I think it's really it's cool to watch people live through the experience, and then now you get to also talk through what you've lived, which I think is really beautiful. Um and if anyone's listening and wants a piece of advice, I think it's like you can always go backwards, but you don't know what happens if you've never gone forward. So take the risk, take the step.
you can always go backwards, but you never know what happens unless you
Go
take the
forward,
step
take the
forward.
risk.
Yeah. Take the risk, take the leap. We got you.
Do it, do
Amazing.
it.
I love it. Our Sagittarius energy that's just like, go,
Yeah,
go, go,
yeah,
go. You can do it. We believe
yeah,
in you. Okay, fabulous. So, if you want to hear more conversations with cool people living badass lives,
that's
please
right.
like and subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube
Yay!
at Eliza Gets Into It, ELIZAGETSINTUIT on YouTube and Instagram. And if you're looking for guidance to build a life you actually love living, I would also love to have you in my 4-month mastermind collab. I run it twice a year, and the next cohort kicks off in August. So you can sign up for the waitlist now and then use code podcast for $200 off when the doors open. That's it. That's all we got for you today.
Love.
I love you,
Get into
babes.
it.
Te amo mucho.
Ah, te
Besos, besos,
amo.
besos.